Hey everyone, John Lorden here. Welcome to another episode of JohnnyVlogs. Might be the last regular episode of JohnnyVlogs, and I'll tell you what I mean by that as we get into today's topic of VidCon and channel changes going on here at Lorden Arts. Of course, before we do that, we have to thank our supporters. We've got new patrons: Angel Donmoyer, Sharon Keeley, Mary Kazek, Tom McKee, Christy Woods, Michelle Chapman, and Carter Modica. Hey everyone, thank you so much for your support and for jumping on Patreon and helping to keep me here doing what I love doing, and of course helping other people with all these causes that we support. On top of that, Helen Cooper, Yoli Viali, Jenna Palooza, and Brenna Kimsey all increased their pledge. Thank each and every one of you very much. And on top of that, I also got some PayPal support from Alan Berry. Alan Berry, actually the director of a film I reviewed a couple weeks ago, which was Dead Man's Line. And basically Alan said he just wanted to buy me lunch, that he really appreciated the exposure. You know, I mentioned in that review, they were only working on a $10,000 budget. Obviously, they don't have a lot of money for promotion when you're on that side of a budget. And it's a really, really good film. I'm not just saying that because he bought me lunch. If you guys watched the review, that was before he bought me lunch. And you know that I'm really moved by that film. I thought they did an excellent job. So, to today's topic. This might be a little bit of a long video. I've got a lot that I want to cover with you guys. First of all, VidCon. Great experience. It's weird. The first day, things were just kind of off. VidCon is going through some growing pains, in particular at the Anaheim area. The conference center, they've built a new building and they kind of moved half of the creator conferences over there. And then they left half of them in the main building where the big showroom floor is. But then they also allowed general people from the showroom floor to come up to those creator conferences. And it didn't really work very well for me because basically you go to these conferences because you want to talk about a particular subject, but in those ones where they were hosted in the same room as the convention and they were letting people from the convention come up, whenever the Q&A sessions would start, it would just turn into fan questions about specific YouTubers. It was hardly on topic. And admittedly, some of that does happen even when it's only creators, but it's pretty limited. And most of the time, the focus stays on the actual topic. However, for those meetings that were in the main hall area, it was pretty much a bust. I was really, really disappointed that they let that happen. I don't know why they let that happen. They still had staff that was manning the escalators. They could have stopped people that didn't have creator badges, but they didn't. They were just letting everyone go up there. And I thought it really affected the quality of those presentations. Luckily, the other ones that were moved into basically a different building were really well done. And of course, didn't seem to have that problem. Every now and then you'd hit one where the creators that were being interviewed just didn't seem to prep very well. And, you know, you'd get like 5 or 10 minutes of what the topic was that you thought you were going there for. And all of a sudden they take a detour and they just never come back. But the majority of them were very well handled. Some people did some really, really good research, and I really appreciated having their insight. So a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of VidCon, and just with how it's spaced out now and how they were taking up much more of the Anaheim Convention Center, there was some logistics problems, like trying to find where registration was. They had literally no signs for where registration was. And then they had people that were giving out bad information. The staff was really, really weak in terms of having solid information. And the problem was, not that they would tell you, hey, I'm really not sure, you should go to the info desk. They would tell you something that would just be flat out wrong. Happened to me 3 times that weekend. Just a little frustrating when you're trying to get around and you're on a tight time schedule trying to jam in as many sessions as you can. But ultimately, did I get what I went there for? Yes. I got a bunch of insight. I got a bunch of new ideas. I got a bunch of inspiration. And that's the main reason why I go to VidCon. I really love how it recharges my batteries, and particularly coming off of, you know, hurting myself and having to take some time off. I wasn't feeling really great about myself and about how I was treating all of you guys. It really, really bothers me when I miss expectations with you guys. And that's part of why I want to shoot today's video and work on some of those expectations so that that doesn't necessarily happen in the future. Before we get to that, what else big happened at VidCon? Now, if you remember last year, there was one creator in particular that I really wanted to see at VidCon. He's not an official attendee there. He's not giving any presentations or anything like that. He's just a guy that buys a pass like me and walks around. So the odds of trying to find Adam the Woo were probably very slim. Did I find him this year? Yes. It was super cool. The only thing I regret is that I didn't stop and try to talk to him more because we were walking opposite directions. I just got to yell out, "Hey, Adam the Woo," and give him a big thumbs up. And he gave me a, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" It was just a good thrill for me personally. I love that I still feel like that about certain content creators, especially content creators that maybe don't have millions of subscribers. They're just kind of personal to me. You know, I feel like I've spent a bunch of time with that guy traveling across the US, looking at all these, you know, kind of side road attractions that he digs into. It was a big thrill for me just to be able to let Adam know that I was a fan of his and his fans are out there. So that was really cool. Also, some of you may remember last year, I won a lottery so that I could have some one-on-one time with Cenk from the Young Turks. This year, I entered the lottery again, and they had Jack Conte, who is not only a YouTuber, recently got some notoriety because he actually shot a film or a video where he was trying to get the attention of Casey Neistat, and it worked, and he got to go out and visit with Casey and share some business ideas. But he's also the CEO and co-founder of Patreon. And let me just tell you guys, Patreon means a lot to me. If it wasn't for Patreon, I don't know that I would be here. I guess I would still be doing this in some form, but definitely not the way that I'm doing it now. It would be really hard to continue this long, just trying to go off of the ad revenue and the crazy fluctuations that happen with YouTube ad revenue. As a matter of fact, I get this itch every now and then where I'm really figuring like, hey, if Patreon gets to a certain point and I'm making a certain amount of money, I would love to kind of shut off ads on YouTube altogether. As many of you probably notice, but some of you that try to be critical of me don't, I do not jam my content with ads. And there's some people that have, tried to kind of slam me in comments. Oh, this guy is just trying to fully monetize his channel. That's why his videos are over 10 minutes long. The point of getting to 10 minutes long in terms of YouTube for monetizing videos is to add multiple ads in that content. That's where that trigger gets set. I do not do that. So it's a personal preference. I don't like ads in the middle of my content, particularly if I'm watching a 12 to 15 minute video and someone has jammed 3 or 4 ads in there. And unfortunately, the way YouTube has treated us creators, they first turned that on, they let people jam in all kinds of ads, and then what happened? Well, on top of that, we had some issues with ads showing up on bad videos, and we had the adpocalypse. But quite honestly, I think that there's also a supply and demand problem that happened where they saturated their own market by having far too many ad spaces. They weren't able to serve all those ad spaces. So what happened? The price of the advertising, I'm sure, went down for the advertisers, definitely went down in terms of what we were making. So the ad thing on YouTube is a weird beast. It's very hard to exist solely on that. So Patreon is huge for me. The first thing that I got to say when I met with Jack, and there was only, I think about 12, maybe 13, 14 at the most, in the room meeting with him. The first thing I got to say to him was thank you. And that really meant a lot to me. This is a guy that recognized that creators weren't being treated very well. And that's before kind of the ups and downs and ins and outs of YouTube. This is a guy that was a musician and was trying to figure out, hey, how do I get people like me paid? And he came up with a great idea. He executed that idea, found the right partner, made it happen, and is sharing that with the rest of us. And I think that's pretty amazing. I can tell you guys, after spending some time with Jack, and I highly recommend you check out his TED Talk and his music on top of that. He does some really cool stuff, particularly with the videos for his music. But what was really clear to me in terms of meeting him was how kind he was, how thoughtful he was. He was well organized. He had kind of an agenda just to that meeting that he wanted to take all of us through, and not an agenda of him talking to us, an interaction. He wanted us to specifically talk about what we could do to improve our lives, improve our channels. He really made me kind of think about, what could I do? What is bothering me about where I'm at right now, and how can I change that? And that's a big part of the reason why I'm doing the changes that I'm doing that I'm going to discuss with you guys in this video. So, Jack, I don't know if you'll ever see this video, and I've already thanked you, but I'm going to thank you again. It was an excellent meeting. Just going to VidCon for that particular opportunity would have been more than enough. I learned so much. But on top of that, I also learned a lot more about Adobe Premiere and about how I could do better color correction. So you might have noticed over the past week, things are starting to look a little different in the videos. That's stuff that I've learned directly from VidCon. I went to a presentation by Wix, and they talked about website development, how easy it is. I always see the ads about how easy it is to do on their platform, but until you're actually sitting there having them take you through it, it really kind of helped sink it in for me. So Wix is now the host of my website, which, look, guys, my websites were not great. I made them years ago on Google Sites. It was a free service. I was happy just to be able to get like a Twitter widget in there. I never had my store integrated with my website. All that stuff, the changes are already happening around all that stuff. We'll talk more about that. So what's going on? What's the big rework that I want to do? Well, the first thing I recognized when I was talking to Jack was that I needed one of two things. I either needed money so that I could have people help me, or I needed time so that I could either do it for myself or find people that were willing to help me for free, but cultivate and nurture those relationships, which takes time to make that stuff happen as well. The main problem I saw was that I have worked myself into a situation where doing 5 videos a week really limited the amount of time that I had for doing other things, to the point of I had a few very simple business goals to happen this year, behind the scenes stuff, just to make sure my finances are in order for all this going forward. And here we are halfway through the year. I haven't touched any of those things. Basically, I've been running so hard just to make the 5 videos a week that I recognized, okay, I've got a problem there. Outside of that, one of the things that I learned at these YouTube conferences is the fluctuations that I have in the viewership on some of my shows as opposed to others might actually be hurting the others. So obviously shows like JohnnyVlogs and Itchy Mysteries are a very core audience of people that really want to spend time with me Monday through Friday, and they show up. And I think there's about probably between 3,000 and 4,000 of you out there. Now look, when I got started, I would have killed to have people watching videos and making 3,000 or 4,000 views on them. I mean, it took a lot of work to get to that point. However, Searchlight and Brain Scratch pulling in 10 to 15,000 views, this weird thing happens with YouTube's algorithm where basically they'll notice that, hey, Brain Scratch does well, so maybe they'll try to show JohnnyVlogs to people. But there are people that know what JohnnyVlogs is and don't want to watch that content. So all of a sudden, the algorithm kind of goes, we think people like this guy. Oh, no, wait, they don't seem to like him a whole lot. So now we're going to hide Searchlight. So there's this kind of variance that is happening between the shows that is hurting some of the discoverability of the shows. And let me tell you guys, do I particularly care, in terms of audience growth? Not really. I know you guys are there. I know the people that appreciate my content will find it some way. What I care about in particular is Searchlight. If it's hurting the discoverability of Searchlight in particular, there's something I have to do to address that. So my first thought was, well, a lot of writers will talk about this. There's a saying about killing your darlings. When you start doing a lot of creative writing, you kind of fall in love with certain ideas. And every now and then you just have to say, even though I love that idea, I have to let it go. I have to remove it. I have to kill my darling. That's kind of the situation I'm at right now, where I'm looking at the shows. I know the Brain Scratch shows, including Case Cracked, are the ones that you guys like the most. So I don't want to mess with any of that. But doing 5 shows a week and having two of them pull in only 25 to 30% of the same audience, and finding out that it's hurting the other shows, made it a pretty clear path. I know what I have to do. I have to take it down to 3 shows a week. So Searchlight is still absolutely going to be on Wednesday. Every single Wednesday, we're looking for missing people. Fridays, Brain Scratch. Absolutely, those are a staple. Those won't move. Those won't change, although I do believe they'll change a little bit in terms of quality if I get this all right, because ultimately not doing 5 shows a week is going to give me more time. That's time for research, time for post-production, time for lining up more interviews, and quite honestly, time for helping more people in ways that you guys don't always see. For example, I was speaking to someone this week about an upcoming missing persons case. Unfortunately, the remains have recently been discovered. That's stuff that you guys just never get to even know about, and it still takes time and coordination, and I'm still here for that person and that family if they need to talk in any way, or if there's anything else that I can do for them. So there's a lot of support work that goes on in the background that I want to make more time for, so that it's not cutting into my research time on my shows, and then my shows aren't feeling as solid to me when I'm putting them out. And I've kind of been feeling that, particularly about Brain Scratch for a while, and even a little bit about Searchlight for a while. I really want to get back to feeling that my research was way more than adequate, was super, super solid before I'm presenting it to you guys. Instead of, I feel good about it, I feel okay about it, let's go ahead and shoot it and let's get it out there. So definitely a quality difference, but they won't be moving. They're there for Friday and Wednesdays and Fridays. So that leaves Monday. What happens with Monday? Well, now Case Cracked, very popular show. I've always talked about how tough it is to research. I still think that this is a big problem in terms of law enforcement and really not publicizing themselves very well. We hear about the bad things all over the place, but we don't really hear about the good things. So I'm going to keep working at that. I really think it's important to do that. But Mondays are going to be a mix is the way I'm seeing it. One week, you might have a Case Cracked. The following week, maybe I'll have to do a Johnny vlog because there's some particular topic that doesn't fit into Searchlight or Case Cracked or Brain Scratch, something that is just outside of that I have to cover. So I do think Johnny vlogs will continue, but they are not going to be every single Monday. They will be kind of occasionally on Monday. Now, what does that do is it also frees up time for me personally so that I can look at more YouTube comments. Something that has really been hurting me in particular for the past several months is as audience grows, as there's more and more comments, I'm able to review less and less of them. I'm getting far more email communication than I ever did before. Of course, Twitter, same thing, more communication than ever before. So I'm spending way more time managing email and Twitter and far less time on YouTube comments than I used to. And that hurts me because quite honestly, I want to take the advantages of YouTube and do things differently than television. I don't want it to be a one-way conversation. I don't just want to blab at you guys and then turn my head and not notice what you guys are talking about in the comments. Some of the biggest growth that I've had personally from doing this work has come from your comments, from you guys giving me different insights, different information, letting me know, hey, sometimes maybe I got something wrong. Maybe you have better information. There is learning that happens in that I haven't been able to get to because quite honestly, as soon as that Brain Scratch is posted, I need to figure out what I'm doing for Johnny Vlogs. That's the next video. And then as soon as that's posted, I got to figure out what I'm doing for Case Crack. And I'm just always kind of on the run and I don't want that anymore. So that's a big reason why I'm making these changes as well. And quite honestly, over this past week, I've already started it. I'm sure many of you have noticed that I've been much more active in terms of reviewing the comments. Also, in the conferences I went to at VidCon, many big YouTubers, way bigger than me, talked about the sustainability of 5 shows a week and how it wasn't sustainable, particularly if you are the same person that's doing your research and your editing and all that stuff. So I really got the message very loud and clear from many of them. It wasn't just 1 or 2 that mentioned that. It was almost a theme that was going on with a lot of the meetings that I went to. But outside of all that, if Itchy Mysteries doesn't happen every week, if Johnny Vlogs doesn't happen every week, if Case Cracks are only coming in every now and then, depending on my availability or ability to find good stories for it, what else is there? Well, that's where I'm hoping that taking those shows away and giving me more time is going to let me fire up collaborations. I've had several people that want to work with me in different ways, and I want to make that happen. I've also had many of you out there talking for a long time about wanting some form of podcast. How can I do that with 5 shows a week? It's practically impossible. But if I go down to 3, all of a sudden those things that are practically impossible are quite possible, and it's just a matter of maybe figuring out some new skills, contacting some people, getting some schedules together, and making it happen. Now, obviously, one of the podcasts, which I've been hinting at for the past several weeks on the channel, would have a co-host that I think several of you are already familiar with. But before we get into that, I'm thinking of another podcast also. So not just one podcast, but 2 podcasts released. Both of them would be released once a month. And one of them will essentially be Itchy Mysteries, kind of reshaped into a new podcast format. When I look at all my shows, there's certain things for me that make sense for a podcast and things that don't necessarily make sense. I struggle with the idea of doing a podcast on missing persons because on a podcast, you can't see the person that you're talking about, and that is such a critical part of reviewing missing persons information. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there's several podcasts out there that do missing person stuff. I appreciate, respect, and use those as sources in my videos. So, of course, I appreciate their work. My personal thought on that is just for what I'm doing, makes much more sense for Searchlight to obviously be a video show. Brain Scratch, same thing. I'm taking you guys through the research with me. You need to be able to see it. So I understand that that format needs to be on screen. Itchy Mysteries is the one that probably is the easiest to translate because quite honestly, all you ever see on screen is me and the red chairs behind me and the movie poster behind me, and that's about it. On top of that, I have a personal relationship with a local professor who is also a writer. He's been published a few times already, and he specializes in fictional crime. And I've always had this kind of interesting insight and idea about kind of bouncing someone that is into all true crime and taking those thoughts and running them up against someone that is working in fictional crime, and then having some kind of show built around that. So I believe one of the podcasts is going to be, I might even still call it Itchy Mysteries, but basically it's going to be a rework on Itchy Mysteries where we do still review true crime documentaries, but that's just one component to a whole episode. We might review a true crime and a fictional crime story of some kind as well. Maybe we'll introduce even some creative writing in there if there's people that want to send in, short stories or something along those lines. I'm still playing with the format. I'm still collaborating with this friend. I don't even want to announce his name yet because I want to make sure it's a lock before all that. But I do think Itchy Mysteries is going to turn into a once a month podcast. And quite honestly, we could review more than one movie during that podcast. I feel that it's important to people like the director I was talking about at the start of this video that need exposure for this product and have been seeing that Itchy Mysteries is doing that and thanking me for that. I want to continue that. I'm just going to try to change it a little bit into a podcast format of once a month. The other podcast, the guest or the co-host that you might know, Danielle Hallen, of course. We've collaborated. We worked on a really tough case together, spent a lot of time together at CrimeCon, and I think she's the perfect co-host. So where you guys can help us, and this is the first of probably many questions I'm going to bring to you for insight on, is the format of a show. What would you want to see Danielle and myself do for a show format? What types of things should we talk about? Are there any particular segments that you would like to see as part of a typical episode? Let's talk about those in the comments below. Outside of that, we need a title. We need something really cool and clever that reflects what we have here. Let's face it, you've got a young woman, a family woman with children. You've got a middle-aged guy with no kids. We already have very different insights with where we're coming at, but we both share a passion for trying to help people, particularly, yes, around missing persons, but also around all kinds of unsolved mysteries. So where do you think that show should be? What do you think that show should be called? Let's talk about that in the comments below. And if you're the person that gets us the title that we know, oh, that's the title we need, I'm going to be sure to get you a $25 gift certificate to the Lord and Art store. So that you can get some merch and know that you're a part of the team. And of course, we will thank you on top of that as well. So that's what I'm asking for this week. On top of that, if you have Twitter, please be sure to follow me at Lord and Arts. They have a polling function there now. If I have really quick kind of questions for my core audience, I'm going to fire them up on Twitter. So look for more polls coming out on Twitter soon. On top of all that, I mentioned Wix earlier in this. New websites aren't just coming. Quite honestly, 2 of them are already there. JohnLorden.com has been officially redone, is no longer a Google site. Now looks like it was at least designed this century. And LordenArts.com already officially redesigned. I'm still going to be tweaking it a little bit, but one of the things I'm really happy about is the store is now integrated with the website, so you can go there to check out all your Lord and Arts merch and buy it through Spreadshirt, but all integrated at LordenArts.com. And if you have ideas for what you would like to see on that website, also feel free to drop those in the comments below and let me know. I have the 3rd website to go, which is Brain Scratchers. Of course, that's the one that has the most content, and it's going to take me a little bit of time, but that's what I'm getting through this whole thing of cutting down to 3 shows a week is time. So I really hope you guys will stick with me through this. And who knows, once I get this new infrastructure in place, can things change? Can I go back to 5 shows a week? If I think things are solid and I'm able to do that, maybe we will ramp it up to that. Quite honestly, I think what's much more reasonable is those 3 shows a week, but then if there's a small Searchlight update or a small mini Scratch update that I need to get out, those will probably pop in on Tuesdays or Thursdays. So honestly, some weeks you guys will still be getting 5 videos a week. They just won't be quite as long as the videos used to be every single day of the week. And I know for some of you, it's probably going to be a little tough because I've been through this as a viewer of YouTube as well. You get used to seeing people every single day. And then when they change that, it kind of hurts you a little bit. So know that I really looked at this decision. I really thought about it a lot. And if there was another way to do this and to keep the 5 shows while increasing everything else, basically the production quality and getting these collaborations going and doing all this, I would have absolutely have done it. It's just really not feasible. I need to take this machine apart just a little bit, rework some pieces, and see if I can bring you guys some better content. And I do believe that that's where we're headed. So I hope that you'll come through this growing period with me and know I want to spend every single day with you guys, and I will be. It's just I'm going to be in the comments a whole lot more on the days that basically there is no video posted. So I hope that you'll come and talk to me there. So that's it, everyone. Long video. Ultimately, I can't do this without you guys. I wouldn't even be considering this without the success that you guys have helped bring to me so far. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. I truly appreciate each and every one of you out there. I appreciate my patrons. I appreciate people that are subscribers. I appreciate it if you just bump into one of my videos and check it out and don't subscribe or don't become a patron. It means the world to me that you guys are out there, that you're listening, that you're watching, and that you're joining the conversation. And I look forward to doing that for a long time with you guys. And ultimately, that's a big motivating factor in all of this. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day, and I will see you back here on the Lord and Arts channel with a new Searchlight on Wednesday. Take care.